can cause a scandal. Alan can't reveal that he hunts more than just horned rabbits and throws everything away. But then the butler says that the Granville family will buy the horned rabbit meat from him at better price than any butcher in the city, and he couldn't be more happy about that. 6 months later, Alan is out on another hunting trip and wonders how many horned rabbits should he hunt today to earn some pocket money. Suddenly, his hawks return all at once, and they look really impatient about what they found. Alan follows them and finds that the hawks are leading him farther than usual. Soon, he comes across a team of adventurers fighting against goblins, and he recognizes them as the people he saw in the guild earlier. Raven is severely injured, and the two girls don't want to leave him, but they can't fight the goblins on their own either. Alan jumps to help them and throws his iron balls at the goblins, but he can only injure them and not finish them off. He can't even use his summons in front of other people, but luckily, he is strong enough not to need them to fight goblins thanks to the buffs from his summons. He takes out his dagger and defeats 3 goblins in the time it takes the eye patch chick to defeat one. She immediately heads over to Raven, who is in terrible condition, and the priestess doesn't have enough mana to heal him. Alan comes in clutch again and says that he has a medicinal herb that can help. He summons a special leaf that he created using the skills of his plant summon, and that miraculously heals Raven's wound without leaving a scar. Alan uses another leaf to treat the eye patch girl's wound, and the entire party is really grateful that he used such high-level healing items on them. Alan decides to get back to hunting, but Raven stops him, asking him how they can repay this debt. Alan doesn't want to waste time, so he asks them to keep his abilities a secret. And since everyone insists on doing more, he asks them to collect 100 E rank magic stones for him. Raven and his party are happy to accept his request, and with that Alan goes on his way. After a few days, he concludes that the medicinal leaf he created is more effective than the herb used to treat his dad's wound, so he should use them carefully. He also realizes that he gets more experience from hunting goblins with his summons than hunting them solo. However, the thing that confuses him most is the behavior of the hawks. He summons a hawk and asks why did it ignore his orders to search only for goblins in a 5-kilometer range. The bird gets nervous on hearing this, but when Alan asks if it wanted to save the injured adventurer, it nods its head. Alan suddenly realizes that his summons are more than just tools to follow his orders, and they have feelings like any ordinary creature. Soon after that, Knight Captain Zenoff arrives at Lord Granville's mansion to have dinner, and he is impressed by the food. He asks what is this gourmet shit, and Cecily replies that it is the meat of a horned rabbit that Alan hunted. Zenoff is impressed and says that he expected this from the son of the legendary hunter. He then informs Alan that Krina village met the quota of 20 great boars this winter too, and Alan is not really surprised to hear that. Cecily's brother Thomas suddenly starts complaining and asks why haven't they gotten any boar meat this year despite more hunts. Alan realizes that Thomas is raising a valid point because he hasn't seen anyone here eat boar meat. He wonders if the greedy king kept everything for himself, and that makes sense to him. Granville, however, scolds Thomas that he shouldn't be selfish, and Alan feels bad for him because even serfs eat more meat than him. Granville's wife says that it is really a shame that they don't have boar meat because she wanted to prepare many meat dishes at the winter party. Thomas gets an idea on hearing this and asks Alan to hunt a white deer next time, but Cecily gets offended by this because she is possessive of her servant and tells her brother that only she can give him orders. Lady Granville tells her kids that they are being silly because a white deer would be too tough for Alan to hunt. But he is not ready to back down from this challenge. He accepts the quest to hunt a white deer, and while everyone is happy and excited, Zenoff is curious about how Alan will manage to do that. Soon after that, winter arrives and Alan goes to the forest to build a snowman, but he is quite terrible at it. Suddenly, his hawk arrives there after discovering a white deer, and Alan immediately follows it to a giant white deer that is feasting on some goblins. Alan is a bit taken aback on seeing it up close, and he mentally prepares himself for the hunt. He first summons his frogs and orders them to provoke the deer, and they start jumping like idiots. The white deer falls for that and charges at the frogs to squish them under its hooves. Alan waits for the last moment to order his frogs to return to him, and then runs a short distance ahead before summoning the frogs again. They taunt the deer again, forcing it to chase them, and Alan repeats this taunt and run strategy over and over till he lures it to the place where he was playing with snow earlier. Just as the deer reaches that place, it falls into a pit that Alan had dug out in advance, and he is happy that his strategy worked. With the white deer trapped in a cramped pit, Alan has all the advantage he needs to finish it. Soon after that, he reaches the mansion with the giant carcass of the white deer, and all the servants rush out with spears. Fearing that a monster has arrived at their gate, The carcass of the deer crawls forward one step at a time, and Alan asks the servants to take him to Thomas. The servants freak out thinking that the monster can even talk. But then Alan crawls out of it, saying that this thing is heavier than your mom. Soon, the Granville family also comes outside, and they are speechless to see the white deer that Alan has hunted. Thomas is delighted and tells his mother that now they will have something delicious to serve during their New Year party. He runs ahead to thank Alan, who dedicates the monster to him. But inside his mind, he swears never to hunt a white deer again because it took him too much time and got him only 2,500 exp. Meanwhile, Lord Granville is stunned by this, and he asks his butler if they are sure that Alan has no talent because he has never heard of an 8-year-old boy hunting a C-rank monster by himself. He orders the butler to reinvestigate the matter, and he immediately gets on it. Soon after that, the butler calls Alan to his office to tell him that he is getting a promotion to better fit his abilities. He says that Alan is being promoted to a huntsman, who has 2 main jobs. First, he has to hunt monsters to provide meat for the family, and second, he has to rescue any citizens that are being attacked by monsters. Alan realizes that now he is technically a hunter employed by the Baron himself, and he can freely grind while calling it his job. On top of that, the promotion comes with a big bump in his salary, and now he receives 100 silver coins per month. Alan realizes that the butler is finally thinking about saving money, because by paying him a fixed amount, he doesn't have to pay him a bigger amount per monster, because the white deer itself was worth more than 100 silver coins. However, he doesn't have a problem with this arrangement because now he only has to hunt enough monsters to provide meat for the Baron's family, and he can use the rest of his time to hunt goblins and farm experience. He accepts the position and says he will start hunting monsters full-time tomorrow, but the butler tells him to hold his horses because he isn't going to hunt every single day. He still has to act as Cecily's manservant and do his regular duties, after which he can hunt only once per week. Alan is not happy to hear this, but he still can't let this chance get away, so he humbly accepts the position. Soon, spring arrives, and with that, a giant magic ship descends on the city. Alan is out there with Cecily, who is eagerly waiting for her elder brother Mihai to return. But Alan is only curious about how the magic ship stays afloat. Soon, Mihai comes out of the ship and Cecily runs to hug him. She starts talking about how much she missed him, and then pouts because he didn't keep his promise of coming to see her over the summer break. Alan realizes that Cecily is close to her brother, and he decides to make a good first impression. He approaches Mihai and offers to carry his bags for him, and Mihai is curious about the new servant. Cecily is low-key proud as she tells him that Alan has double duty as her manservant and a huntsman, and Mihai is impressed. He praises Alan, saying that he must be really talented, and Alan realizes that he is the most sensible one of the Baron's children. With that, Mihai gives Cecily a gift he bought for her in the capital, and she cheerfully takes him home to talk about his school. Seeing them like this, Alan begins to miss his family, and he wonders how his siblings are doing. Soon after that, Alan hunts some monsters for his weekly quota and takes them back to the mansion, where the chefs are really happy to get good ingredients to work with. Just then, Rick arrives there and tells Alan that Mihai is having a sparring session with Zenoff right now, and he immediately goes to see it. He finds that Mihai is quite skilled because he can keep up with the captain of knights, but Zenoff doesn't fight him for long and tells him that he has improved a lot since he went to the academy. Just then, Cecily notices Alan watching them, and she praises him for hunting delicious monsters yet again. Mihai also notices him and says that he looks strong, so he wants to spar with him too. With the approval of the Baron, Zenoff gives Alan his sword to spar against Mihai, and he can't stop gushing over the fact that he gets to hold a real mithril sword. He realizes that he hasn't practiced since he left the village, and his stats are also more suited for hunting rather than fighting. But since he is at level 20 now, he has confidence in his abilities. The sparring begins and Alan charges at Mihai, trying to control his power so that he doesn't hurt him. However, Mihai proves to be far superior to him in all aspects. Alan feels that his attacks hit like a truck, and he is faster than him. Mihai's mother is worried about him, but Zenoff tells her to chill because her son has trained a lot in the Academy City, and no one without enough experience can beat him. His words are proven right as Mihai disarms Alan and forces him to admit defeat. But he is impressed by his skill and strength despite his young age. Meanwhile, Alan realizes that Mihai is in a different league altogether. Cecily and Thomas go to Mihai to praise him, and Cecily also praises Alan for holding on so long. Anyway, Mihai tells his siblings that he got stronger after clearing a dungeon during his summer break, which was necessary for him to pass his exams. He talks about how a dungeon is like a maze with a lot of monsters, and Alan feels jealous of him. He realizes that Mihai has natural talent and he learned from the best teachers in the Academy City. He also worked really hard, and on top of that, he can level up 100 times faster than him because he is on normal difficulty. He starts feeling a little jealous of him, and as Mihai tells his siblings that he will come home again in summer vacations, Alan abruptly requests him to spar with him then. Mihai asks him to take good care of his sister in exchange for that. And though Alan agrees, he is dying to find a reasonable excuse to stop serving the purple-haired brat. Soon after that, Mihai leaves for the academy. A few weeks later, Viscount Carnal comes to